Hello, welcome to part 2 of our Eddy Basics Guide. Reminder that this is game version 4.2. In this part, we're going to talk more about strategy and go over some basic game plan elements, which will build on the essential tools we already went over. We'll also suggest some players to check out and cap it off with a brief character summary. Don't forget about all the resource links I mentioned in part 1. Those may be very useful to you, especially if you are brand new to the game. I have included those once again in the video description below. But enough of that, let's get going. Let's start by talking about stances and some full crouch. We'll power through the stance options first since they're probably simpler than you might think. We'll begin with Relax. Relax 4 is your fastest option at I-15 and also his most commonly used. It's a mid-homing move that spins on hit and can splat and gives a juggle on counter hit. Despite being negative 13, he stays crouching afterwards, so typical 10 and 12 frame punishers that start high will actually miss, and since it has decent range, it can be spaced in a way to make it mostly safe, so it's a really strong tool. Relax 2 is a safe mid poke to get you out of Relax. It has a couple of follow-ups, but they're risky, so mostly they're just for cover. Relax forward 3+4 is a quick long range knockdown mid that also low crushes, negative 12 at close range, but can easily be safe with just a little bit of space. Depending on the character and distance, you can even convert a juggle on hit, but you'll see this move a lot since it's fast and evasive. Relax 1+2 is another knockdown mid option, but honestly forward 3+4 outshines it. Relax 3+4 is a safe, slower power mid that you can also use to get to handstand if you want. The remaining moves are your mix-up tools. 3 slide 4 and 4 slide 3 represent your mid and low launch options respectively. Nothing overcomplicated about them, they're simply your scary options that also come with considerable risk. The biggest issue with them is range, especially on 4 slide 3, thus keep in mind your other lows. Relax 1-3 is a low mid natural combo and will look very familiar to you since the kick is the same as standing 1-3 or down forward 3. Relax 1 has really good range, so although not as scary as 4 slide 3, you're likely to get more mileage out of it. And remember, after the kick it'll go to handstand or you can go back to Relax. Note that Relax 1-4 can also combo, but not at close range. Relax 3 is another low option, even faster than Relax 1 at I-16. Negative 14 on block, but it gives +1 on hit and has solid range, so it's very common as well. Weirdly, Eddy can also manually do the generic get up low kick with Relax down back 3. It doesn't do much damage on normal hit, but you still get +5 and it'll give the trip launch on counter hit, and it's only negative 12. Regardless, as a mix up to these lows, just use the mids we already mentioned, namely Relax 2, 4, and forward 3+4, or occasionally the big risk with 3 slide 4. That's the end of your attack options, but one other thing you can do is hold down back or down forward for a moment and you'll go to full crouch. While standing 4 is of course your safe I-11 mid check, although Eddy's is really strong in that it has good range, a big active window, and way better frames than a typical while standing 4. It's not unusual at all for Eddy players to spam instant while standing 4 in the neutral because of how good it is. While standing 2 is your typical I-15 mid launcher, negative 12 on block. While standing 3 is very similar, a tad slower but much longer range. While standing 1 is really juicy as an I-13 option since both while standing 1-3 and 1-4 are both natural combos, the former being a straight up launcher, the latter being a safe but duckable option. Few characters have a 13 frame launcher, and given how much range while standing 1 has, it's worth it to learn how to do instant while standing 1-3 from neutral for whiff punishes. Although note that while standing 1 is a high, so you'll find many situations where it may just whiff because of that. You also have a legit low from full crouch with full crouch down forward 4, which goes back to Relax at +4 and gives a launch on counter hit. Speed is its biggest issue. You also have the full crouch toe kick. He doesn't have one from standing, but his full crouch 4 has above average range for a toe kick, and unlike the rest of the cast, his full crouch version is only negative 14. Full crouch down 1+2 is the same move as Relax 1+2. Full crouch down back 4 is a somewhat underwhelming mid, and while standing 3+4 is a mid with considerable risk. Although with while standing 3+4 it has great range, so if you can space it, the frames not only get better, but things like while standing 3+4 back create so much space that it's impossible to punish. Relax 4 on normal hit gives a really good situation for this, and on counter hit, while standing 3+4 down will give you a free mini combo. Anyway, while standing 4 is easily the move you'll see the most, but you still have some variety here. Okay, now handstand. Very similar situation as Relax. Handstand 2 and 4 are your quick mid options. 4 keeps you in handstand, so there's a float risk there. However, it does recover fast and you have a power crush in handstand 1. Handstand 1 is only negative 12 and forces crouch, so only a few characters will hurt you badly for that. And you get a free QCF 3 on hit, which again can relaunch if they try to get up. Handstand up 3 is another quick safe-ish mid, very common as an easy way to get to Relax by holding down after. Handstand forward 3+4 is the same move as Relax forward 3+4, so very much good. Handstand forward 1 rolls you forward into a single jab, so a nice quick way to get back to standing without necessarily losing your turn. Your mix options are a little more limited, but still there. Handstand back 3 is probably the best, does okay damage, stays crouching, goes to Relax at a big +7 on hit, and will knock down on counter hit. Handstand 3 is an okay mix up to back 3 since the startup animations are similar, although Handstand 3 is much slower to actually come out. It's still a safe-ish mid that goes to relax at +6 on hit, or it can knock down slide on counter hit. You can also do it from standing as sidestep 3. You can try handstand 3 slide 4 to test your opponent's defense since it will give a launch, but it comes with a lot of risk. You can also do this again from standing as well. You do have a special unbreakable throw with handstand 3+4, which can sometimes be tough to see if you're mixing up your moves well, and since he stays in handstand on whiff, it has to be punished as a float. Your only other move is handstand down 3+4, which is a very evasive mid launcher. It can easily be floated on block, but it's an exceptional setup tool that you'll see in spacing traps a lot. Think about the aforementioned while standing 3+4 back, or against whimsical opponents trying to mash highs or high hitting mids against handstand. That's the end of the list. The only other things that you have are small movement options like the relax side roll or the handstand side lean, but they're fairly situational. The most useful is probably the fact that by tapping forward in handstand, you can go quickly to relax or hold it to roll to a stand. Doing nothing in handstand also goes to relax, it's just not as fast. Just know that you leave yourself more open doing this. It might seem like a lot, but remember that we went over 3 things right there, 2 stances and full crouch. So thinking in that context, they're not as complicated as you might think. Where it gets tricky though are the transitions. With relax, you can run a standard 50-50 game, but keep in mind that your big scary low has limited range, so it's tough to just run up and do a mix-up since they'll simply backdash it, which is why the other relax lows are so important. If your transition move is blocked and your opponent isn't just mashing, you have to accept that you're going to eat a grounded hit. That's the risk of Eddy. And some transitions, even on hit, may not get you close enough for forward slide 3, like down 2-3. Although down 2-3 isn't terribly punishable and is still a solid string to use for counter hit reasons. So keep in mind moves that do give you those opportunities on hit, like running 3 or down back 3+4. Or more commonly, just use relax like a keep out tool and keep going in and out of it randomly in the neutral. Even if they whiff something as small as a jab, you still get a free mix-up since they won't have time to get away. And if they're trying to bait relax, relax 4 or forward 3+4 will be invaluable catching them trying to come in. Handstand is a little different because the mix-up potential isn't as strong, so you have to get a bit more creative and rely on fast or ambiguous transitions. 1-2 forward is common since it's fast and gives a big +7 on hit, and you have some evasive tools you can use to evade quicker highs and mids. Otherwise, it's a solid stance for spacing traps. Forward 3 back is common for this, as is while standing 3+4 back, which we already mentioned. Forward 4, while technically punishable, can cause some issues too because of the pushback, and you get a big launch if it hits. This is kind of how Eddy has to live, riding that line between moves that are technically punishable, but throwing enough out there to make it hard to always properly punish him. On that note, Eddy has a bunch of strings that give him the option to go into either stance or do something else entirely, and you should be mixing these in heavily. Up forward 3 is really common for relax, forward slide 3 is another, down back 3 as well can go to both stances among a bunch of other paths. Down back 4 is a goofy infinite string that can go to handstand, down back 3+4 can go to both stances and has some decent string options for cover, and the list goes on. The point is that you should get very comfortable not only using these strings, but mixing up the various paths that they can take, in addition to the strong single hit options, think forward 3 and forward 4. This is critical to keeping your opponent honest. Otherwise, pick the transitions you like the most and work with those. Since we talked at length in the previous section, we'll try to keep this last bit simple. While Eddy can be played in a crazy stringy style, and you'll certainly want to mix some of that in, your focus should instead be on your spacing and keep out game. In case you hadn't noticed, Eddy is the only character that can't sidewalk, however he has an amazing backdash and some of the best whiff punishers and keep out tools. For whiff punishers, down forward 3+4 is one of the best in the game. Very unsafe, but an I-15 mid with great range. Instant while standing 1-3 is really good as well, which we've mentioned. It just comes with some practice to get the instant while standing down. However, it excels against characters that are generally weak to ducking. Back 2-4 and up forward 3+4 are really strong quick splatters, but in addition to whiff punishers, you have amazing keep out tools to catch people coming in. Up forward 4 might be the most used option, but sidestep 4 and sidestep 3+4 are exceptional, one being a low, which is tough to defend on a dash in, the other being a launcher that can be goofy to punish properly. If you're really confident they're going to be swinging, don't forget sidestep 2 is a counter hit launcher. In general though, the suddenness with which these can hit is a large part of gaining initiative. Standing 4 is I-12, down back 2 is I-18 with stupid range, up forward 4 certainly fits that category too. The riskier but high rewarding back 3-3 is I-13, 1+2, which we haven't mentioned yet, is a safe double high that starts I-12. It even has a risky launch option that combos on counter hit. A lot of Eddy players like to use 1+2, but these are so quick that even if they get blocked, it can often take a moment for your opponent to catch up. Plus he has a couple of amazing evasive moves in back 1+2 and down back 1+2. You might as well throw up 1+2 in there as an orbital orbital type move, and he has an enormous array of lows to annoy people and get people swinging. As we mentioned, randomly dropping into relax represents a significant whiff threat against most highs and mids in the game as well, hence the reason you see Eddies do it so often. In any case, playing a keep out style is not super complicated. In fact, trying to play the crazy string style and getting proper reads on those is more complex since you have to be really comfortable with his move list. That being said, playing keep out, despite being simple, is not necessarily easy. In order to get significant damage, Eddy really has to rely on opponents being aggressive. Whether they choose to be aggressive or not, you'll still often find yourself taking some crazy risks to keep those mix-up and evasion threats in play. That's not to say he doesn't have other strong areas. For instance, his Oki is really strong with traps off moves like QCF3 and just a general number of ground-hitting moves he has. But keep out is still his biggest strength, which is why you'll see the best Eddies play incredibly turtly. But it teaches you how to read opponents and play defense, both of which are invaluable as you grow as a player. As always, we'll start by recommending Applay. It's the best quick info resource out there. Once you start to get comfortable with Tekken and you want to pick up a character on the fly, there's nothing better than this. First, probably the most prolific Eddy, Korean's jeondding, has been at numerous events and on the biggest stages, so not only is there plenty out there of him to watch, his sets are always going to be against high quality opponents. He still streams every couple of days, so there's up-to-date content too. Next, nearly as prolific, is Peru's Abel del Maestro. I'm unaware of a stream, but a generic YouTube search should yield plenty of tournament sets, which again means plenty of high quality matches. And then lastly, the old head from the US, Spero. Spero has had a ton of strong runs, but probably the most important fact here is that he's been doing it forever. For example, did you know that he got second place with Eddy at EVO in 2007? I'm curious if any of you weren't even born yet. Point being, the streams are light these days, but lots and lots to watch from Spero. Lastly, as always, don't take this list as final. Eddy tends to have his runs of popularity now and then, so search around and you'll certainly find more. This brings us to the end of our guide. Eddy is an enigma. He's not a bad character, but not a particularly good character. A lot of it boils down to risk. He can be exceptionally annoying with his keep out, but if your opponent isn't biting, then he's going to have to make some 50-50 reads. Like any character running that kind of game, it can be feast or famine. But his keep out is such that it'll teach you to play strong defense and make strong offensive decisions. So keep at it, and I wish you the best of luck in your training. And with that, thanks for checking out this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications here on YouTube so that you get alerted when a new video drops. Twitch and Twitter links are also down below. Lastly, huge thank you to our patrons. The more support we have, the more resources we can devote to channel content. So again, I can't thank everyone enough for considering supporting the Patreon. Stay safe, everyone, and we'll catch you next time.